Hey everyone, covered in boons, Sneaky Muckluck here, and if you've come looking for a way to efficiently bonk people with a stick, you've come to the right place. This is a guide to the low-intensity Daredevil. The purpose of a low-intensity build is to be as effective as possible with the build itself, so that the gameplay requires as few separate buttons as possible to be pressed. This is not the top DPS build a Daredevil can achieve, but rather an option for when you want to chill and watch Netflix on another monitor, or if you have shaky hands or any other condition that can impact your gameplay. Be sure to drop a like on the video or sub to the channel for more content, ring the bell for all future notifications, and as always, my undying gratitude to all the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep this channel alive. More on how you can support at the end. Let's get started. Equipment. We're using full Berserker stats, runes of the Scholar, and a staff for our weapon. Sigils of force and impact on the staff. Our heal skill can be any one that you want. Hide in Shadows is nice because it also cures conditions. You can use Signet of Malice if you want to reduce the number of buttons even further, but it doesn't have a condition cleanse. Infiltrators, Assassins, and Agility Signets. Just by having these up, we will do more damage. Our elite skill is Basilisk Venom. Specializations are Deadly Arts, Critical Strikes, and Daredevil, of course. Deadly Arts is 1-3-3, Critical Strikes is 3-2-1, Daredevil is 1-1-3, with the exception of one variant build near the end, which I'll go into shortly. Most of these traits offer various passive bonuses, but there are a couple of which are worth pointing out. Exposed Weakness does increase damage for each unique condition on the target. This means this build will really shine in groups such as raids, strikes, or even open world bosses with lots of people hitting the same thing. For every debuff that's there, you hit harder. Twin Fangs. You do more crit damage while above 90% health, and you gain bonus crit chance when hitting the target from the side or the back. A note about flanking. If your entire party is in front of the boss, it's okay to go a few feet to the left or right to get your flanking bonus. But make sure that you're still close enough to get heals and buffs. That little bit of bonus damage is not worth dying for. Another trait worth pointing out is Staff Master. Staff Master is what we're going to take for the first two variants of this build, but Havoc Specialist pulls ahead on the final version. You'll get those details soon. Here's the auto attack version. With full boons and conditions in play, a generic food buff, and spirits and banners, we're looking at 23,000 DPS while just auto attacking. If you can add one more button to the build, spamming the 2 key, weakening charge whenever your initiative is full until it is empty. A quick note, the final hit in your auto attack chain hits very hard, so you want it to happen sometimes. It's better to do a bunch of weakening charges, then a bunch of auto attacks, repeating, rather than going back and forth between the two rapidly. By dumping all of your initiative into this button with the same buffs, we end up at about 27,000 DPS. That's around 21k when auto-attacking, and peaking at 42k when you were holding down the 2 key. Oh, and you can hold it down. You don't have to just mash the key repeatedly when it's time to empty your initiative. You can just hold the button down and your character will just do it over and over. A quick note here on the rising damage toward the end. We've got one more trait that is worth mentioning, Executioner. You will do more damage against a target that is below half health. The 2-button version of this build I'll be presenting adds dodging to the formula. We're only up to 2 keys now, but there is a bit of a rhythm to this. When this build dodges, you get a damage bonus for 4 seconds from weakening strikes, and another damage bonus from bounding dodger. The dodge itself is also an attack from the same trait. Swap the second Daredevil trait to Havoc Specialist for this build. With a 4-second buff on the table, we want to space out our dodges to keep that buff up as much as possible. So dodge, hit the 2 key a few times, then let some auto attacks happen. Dodge, hit the 2 key a few times, let some auto attacks happen. Your goal is to not let your endurance or your initiative sit at full. Performing this rhythm with the same buffs as before resulted in 30,000 damage per second, dipping down to around 20k and peaking to 44k when holding down the 2 key with the post-dodge buffs up. Let's quickly talk about Brakebars. If it is time to interrupt your target, use your elite skill. It makes you and your teammates perform CC on your following attacks, a very powerful tool for interrupts when near other people. If you do successfully get that boss interrupted and they become vulnerable, you can activate Assassin's Signet for another large boost of damage if you want to. Finally, to set some proper expectations, here is the build with no buffs or debuffs in play. This is what you might see completely on your own. As you can see, this build's damage blows up a lot with proper buffs and hitting a target with lots of debuffs on it. So if you see numbers like this when you're on your own, that doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. And that's all there is to it. Another massive thank you to the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep this channel alive. Your support makes it possible for us to spend more time researching builds like this and working with the finest video editor on Earth. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the like button for the YouTube algorithm, leave a comment with any tips and tricks about this topic that I missed, and subscribe for more content. Happy bonking!